Good evening. I know it's a bit of a late start, but it's always time for Georgia football. But this ain't about me. Go ahead, boys.
All right, what's going on, y'all? I'd like to welcome y'all into the second edition of the Bulldawg World Order. Of course, I'm Magnum alongside my co-host, Uncle Lou. And Uncle Lou, one of the reasons we had a little late start, he's over in Hilton Head, and he got involved with a storm over there. Things calmed down now?
Yep, back to normal. Quit raining, quit thundering. Cell phones up and running again here, which is a good thing. So, Uncle Lou, here for you.
All right, I'm not going to, don't mean to cut you all off, but if you'd like to ask them a question, the number is 1-855-403-9071. Go ahead.
All right, that's right. Any of y'all want to call in, talk a little football, talk a little trash, we don't care. We'll talk trash right back. Right into it. First topic we're going to get into today is some of the Heisman candidates for this next season. Of course, one of the obvious choices, Georgia running back Todd Gurley. I think that's a given as long as he can stay healthy. He will definitely be in the mix. A couple of the others that I had in mind that would definitely be there, may get invited to New York. T.J. Yeldon from the University of Alabama. One of his problems, of course, is the fact that he tends to fumble the ball a lot. The dude has butterfingers, but, it is what it is. I know we talked about him a little bit last week. Duke Johnson has a pretty good chance to be there toward the end. Of course, if he stays healthy as well. Of course, he got hurt last year at Florida State. But those are really the big names. One of the other ones I know that was actually talked about a lot last year, Marcus Mariota from the University of Oregon. Uncle, what's your opinion on Marcus Mariota? Do you actually think he can win the Heisman?
I don't know if he can win it. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in the conversation towards the end of the year. The Oregon offense there, you can go ahead and bet is going to score 50, 60 points a game. Marcus Mariota going to have some touchdowns there without question. Of course, the dual threat with the running and the throwing. So if he can stay upright and Oregon can get to 9 or 10 wins, then I'm sure his name is going to be, thrown in the ring when it gets close to finalist time. As far as quarterbacks go, Bryce Petty from Baylor, one of the best quarterbacks probably in college football right now. He's going to put up huge numbers. And he's in the right conference because everybody knows in the Big 12 there are no defenses. So he should be able to put up some huge numbers this year. He put up huge numbers last year. Should only improve on that this year. The kid from UCLA was Brent Hundley. I guess he's a prototypical NFL quarterback, big arm. So he might be somebody to watch out for too. And some people are trying to mention this guy from Alabama, Coker. Of course, he hasn't even taken a snap yet, so we'll see. And you already talked about T.J. Yeldon, and a lot of times when you have 2 or 3 Heisman candidates on the same team, it makes it that much harder for any one of those people to stand out above the others. They kind of draw votes away from each other, so that could be something to keep an eye on if you're an Alabama fan. And, of course, Jameis Winston won it last year, Florida State, defending national champions. So no reason he shouldn't be in the conversation. Now, no one's ever won back-to-back, or it's hard to win back-to-back Heisman. We'll see if he can do it. I don't know. I do think Todd Gurley will be a finalist this year if Georgia can get to 9 or 10 wins and Gurley stays healthy and plays in all 12 games. York in December for the presentation. Whether he wins it or not, I'm not going to try to guess the winner. I think it's ridiculous to try to pick one single winner right now before the season has even started. There's too many things that can happen, too many things that have to happen. People talk about having a Heisman moment, which is usually a really big performance on a national stage against a really good team. Injuries, what teams are going to have good records, what teams aren't, things like that. So I'm not going to try to pick a winner. But those are definitely a few names to keep an eye on. Braxton Miller, I'm not impressed with Braxton Miller. I guess a lot of other people are. I don't know. But hold on, let me check. Yeah, he still plays for Ohio State, so not too interested there. And there's a running back for Wisconsin, too. What's his name, Magnum?
Melvin Gordon, I believe. I was going to ask you about him. Do you think that he has a legit shot of being there?
I think he's got a shot. I mean, it seems like every year Wisconsin's got a big running back who rushes for 12 or 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns, and if that's going to be Melvin Gordon this year.
All right, Brandon, chime in here. It sounds like all right, not Brandon, but Magnum. I'm getting names wrong. Why don't you chime in right now?
Yeah, what's going on, Ray?
It sounds like Uncle Lou. We lost him for a second.
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear
yeah,
me?
he's here.
Yeah. You were in the middle of discussion and it just stopped.
Oh.
Well, I heard him on my end.
All right, that's good. Continue.
All right, go ahead, Uncle Lou.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, as far as your front runners go, if I had to pick like 4 or 5 right now to kind of throw into the hat as front runners, of course, Jameis Winston, Todd Gurley. I'd probably throw Bryce Petty in there. Brett Hundley. And what the hell, Duke Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I would probably take out. I mean, even though like you said, Baylor, Big 12, no defense. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong, but I would probably remove Petty and I would probably put Gordon in there. That'd be the only change in mine. Like you said, Wisconsin puts out these running backs that seem to get all these yards. So I guess if he can stay healthy and get the yards and touchdowns, I can see him definitely being mentioned. Other than that, I'm right with you on all the other picks. So no disparity there. But yeah, speaking of these players in these conferences, what we're going to do is myself and Uncle Lou, we're actually going to go through and rank the Big 5 conferences from worst to first. So we'll start with you, Uncle Lou. Who's going to be the worst and who's going to be the best?
Okay, I'll start with 5 and move up to 1. Now, this is opinion-based, so keep that in mind. But in Uncle Lou's opinion, the worst of the Big 5 conferences right now is the Big 10. And I'll be honest, I don't have any respect at all for the Big 10. I think they're outmatched against the other 4 conferences. It's a boring brand of football to watch, in my opinion. And I don't think they have the powerhouses to stand up against the other 4 big boy conferences. So I would definitely list the Big 10 at number 5. I know they have a couple of teams that are probably going to have a couple of good years, but let's face it, in every conference, because you're playing so many games against your same conference, in every conference, you're going to have a couple of teams that end up with good records because they're beating up on the other sorry teams in their conference. So I expect Ohio State to have 9, 10, 11, 12 wins, probably Michigan State 9, 10, 11, 12 wins. But after that, I don't see very many schools, honestly, that scare me as a fan, in terms of if I have to play this team. Am I scared? No, I'm not. And the bottom tier teams in the Big Ten are just terrible. Northwestern, Indiana, Penn State kind of up in the air right now. I really don't like bagging on Penn State too much because they have been through a lot of which was, out of their control, or at least out of the control of the kids that are there now. I don't want to get into that whole Sandusky situation, but just sort of feel bad for the kids that are there. But yeah, Big Ten, number 5. Number 4, Big 12. Now, they easily could have been number 5. I mentioned it earlier, but they play no defense in the Big 12. I know Oklahoma's getting a lot of preseason hype. We'll find out if it's deserved or not. I don't know. Seems like Oklahoma has some big expectations every year, and they somehow manage to disappoint, so we'll see. Baylor, a few other teams will score 50 points a game when they're playing other Big 12 teams. But Texas, I don't look to you're not going to see much from them, at least for the next couple of years. I think the cupboard is bare there. They just don't have the talent that they once had. So I don't think they're scaring anybody. Oklahoma State, seems like they usually have a pretty good team. But this year, I guess they're not picked to do so hot. We'll see. So, yeah, go ahead and put them at number 4. For number 3, I guess I'm going to go with the ACC here, defending national champions, Florida State. They have a lot of pieces back from last year. They're by far the cream of the crop in the ACC. I don't see anybody in the ACC that can challenge Florida State this year. Clemson, I guess, will be pretty good this year, but I look for them probably to get 8-9 wins. But they're going to get curb stomped by Florida State again. And we already know Clemson's going to lose their first game. And then when you look at the bottom of the ACC, I mean, it's just riddled with basketball schools, Wake Forest, North Carolina. I know Duke won 10 games last year, but let's be honest, they're not beating very many, if any, top 25 or top 30 teams. It's just not happening. So, yeah, go ahead and put them in number 3. Number 2 is the Pac-12. Now, this is a good conference here, which, of course, means that the SEC number 1, which I'll get to in a minute. But the Pac-12 is a good conference, so not a whole lot bad to say about the Pac-12. I mean, they have your bottom feeder teams like every conference does, but when you look at the top, they do have some legitimate national title contenders. Oregon, Stanford, UCLA is going to be good. Washington State is getting a little bit better. Oregon State getting a little bit better. USC, don't really know what you're going to get from them. I do think they'll be vastly improved from what they have been the last couple of years without Lane Kiffin, which is addition by subtraction. So, yeah, anytime you can get rid of Lane Kiffin, you're probably going to see some improvement, which I expect to see from Southern Cal this year. So I would put them as the number 2 ranked conference out of the Big 5, which, of course, leaves the SEC top to bottom, in my opinion. The deepest, most loaded conference in America. You don't have to take Uncle Lou's word for it. You can take the word of 32 NFL general managers if you don't believe me. But the SEC is going to lead again in draft picks. I mean, we're going to have the most teams in the top 10, the most teams in the top 25, the most title contenders. I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 teams in the SEC that if they won the national title this year, you could look back and say you weren't shocked that they won. Of course, you start with Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, South Carolina. If any of those teams were to win the national title this year, it would not shock me. I'm not going to predict any of those teams to win it. Right now I got to see some games played first, but to me, there's legitimately 5 teams in the SEC that have a shot at winning it all, and no other conference can say that. So that's Uncle Lou's order, 5 through 1. You don't have to agree with it, but that is the right order, just so you know. So you can go ahead and write that down, and we'll move on to you, Magnum.
All right. Well, some of my picks are the same as yours, but my number 5, I'm going to start off with the Big 12. To me, this is the worst conference. The way I look at it, you've got Oklahoma and then everybody else. Of course, Baylor, they're gonna do pretty good for their conference. Like you said, they're gonna put up 50, 60 points a game. I expect them to probably finish second in the conference. Then you got, like you said, Texas, who they got a new coach. It's gonna take some adjustments for them to get back to where they were several years ago. Like you said, they just don't have the talent they had in years past. So I just don't expect to see too much from them. You got, of course, your bottom feeders, but their bottom feeders are just awful. You got teams like Kansas, like really. But one game that's actually going to intrigue me later this year is the Kansas State-Auburn game. I will say if Kansas State can somehow beat Auburn, I'll give them a little more respect. But